David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Today I have for you a pen from a brand which I've reviewed previously, but the pen I'll be showing you today is significantly different than what I've shown you before. And that brand is Taccia. And the model that I have for you today is called the Spectrum. What I'm going to do today is talk about the parts and features of the Spectrum, discuss what I care for and what I don't care for about this pen. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Taccia is a brand which has been around since 2003 and was founded by the fashion designer Shujin Lin. The company is based out of the Los Angeles, California area, but a number of their models, especially the limited and special edition ones, have more of a distinct Asian and European flair. The company has a history of using innovative and new ways to apply unique materials on these high-end pens. But they also produce some pens at the lower price scale. And that is the Spectrum that I have for you today. And this is what it looks like. This particular model is called Ocean Blue. The pen is made from resin. It has rhodium-plated trim as well as a classic cigar shape. The material is somewhat translucent. It gives you a bit of a shadowy look at what's going on under the hood of this pen. Let's start by taking a look at the top of the cap. It's rather wide and rounded. It then transitions down to the clip. I recognize the clip. It's the same clip which Narwhal uses on their pens. It is a bit stiff, but it does function in both thinner and thicker materials. The cap angles up a bit, and then at the end, the brand name Taccia is printed. There is a medium-sized step down to the barrel, which is straight for about an inch before tapering down, and then the end of the barrel is rounded as well. The cap twists off in 2.5 rotations, and underneath we have one of the very cool things about this pen, the two-tone stainless steel nib made by Sailor. You don't find Sailor nibs on too many non-Sailor pens. In my opinion, Sailor makes some of the best nibs out there on the market today. This pen is available in extra fine, fine, medium, broad, as well as a stainless steel music nib, which is more like a stub nib. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The section begins with a very slight flare and then angles up until you reach the metal threads, which I don't find to be sharp or uncomfortable if your grip should rest on them. And there's a medium-sized step up to the barrel. The Spectrum is long enough to use unposted. The cap does post, and it does post securely. The cap is fairly light, so I don't feel it backweights the pen or throws off the balance at all. Now, with the tapered barrel, the cap does have a bit of that mushroom look that I'm not too particularly fond of, but it's not too pronounced on this pen. The Spectrum is a cartridge converter pen, with it using a Sailor-made nib that it only accepts proprietary Sailor cartridges, and a converter is included. I like Sailor converters. They have a really nice wide opening in the end, which makes for very easy cleaning. Speaking of cleaning, I think I mentioned this before, but one of these days I need to do a video all about pen cleaning. I recently had a project which lasted several weeks where I cleaned out every pen in my collection, and I have committed to minimizing the pens which I have inked, and I clean out maybe the 5 or 6 pens that I use each week, every week on the weekend. I think it's better for the overall health of my collection. In addition, if you're cleaning out a pen which you've just recently used, it requires a lot less effort than one that has been sitting around for months and is dried out. Those get to be a pain. It can take 15 or 20 minutes just to clean out one pen. Okay, back to the pen at hand. The Taccia Spectrum is reasonably priced and can be found for around $99. There is a gold nibbed option for this pen, which is available at a higher price as well. The Spectrum is a bit of an under-the-radar pen, but overall, I feel they're well constructed, they have fantastic nibs, and they come in a variety of colors and perform very nicely. I'll admit that I've had one in my collection for a number of years, and it doesn't get the use that it really deserves. The value that you receive at this price point with this pen is very reasonable, and it's worth checking out. So now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Taccia Spectrum. Since it does have a Sailor nib, I wanted to compare it to a number of Sailor pens. Here it is with a Pro Gear. Here it is with a 1911 large. And here it is with a Sailor King of Pen, and that is in the Royal Tangerine. In regard to some other pens, here it is with a Platinum 3776, and that is the Yamanaka. And then here it is with the Leonardo Momento Zero Figboot on pens. This was the pen that I recently put on sale. I was really pleased with the way that turned out, and they sold out very, very quickly online. So once I'm done with this project, I might be looking into what project might be next. And finally, a brand new pen that I purchased that I just received that I really love, and it's from Rockster Pens. And this is the Daydreamer. Just take a look at that. This is a burled maple, and I just really like this. Let's get a little bit closer look of that material. It's like a dyed wood, and it just looks amazing. I just think that's fantastic. And on top of that, we have a nice purple resin section to go with that. So I'm really glad I purchased this pen, and I'll be reviewing that in this fairly near future. In regard to some uncapped comparisons, here it is with the 1911 large and the 3776 and the Momento Zero. Here we go with the writing sample for the Taccia Spectrum. This is a broad stainless steel nib, and the ink that I'm using, appropriately enough, is Taccia Sora. This is what the ink looks like. It's kind of a nice sky blue. This is what it looks like in regard to Kala Neon Blue, as well as the Private Reserve Daphne Blue. Now, the Private Reserve did have a bit of feathering on there, but that's what it looks like in comparison. This is what the bottle looks like. A nice 40 milliliter bottle with lots of ink in here and a really nice wide neck. Okay, here we go with the rest of the writing sample. I do find that this Sailor broad nib lays down a nice fat line. It's kind of a little bit larger than a Western medium, so I'd say it's just like maybe half a step down from a Western broad. You can get a decent amount of line variation out of this stainless steel nib. And it's fairly smooth as well. In regard to ink flow, it is decent. And in regard to some reverse writing, it's a little sharp, but it gets the job done. And in regard to some fast writing, the feed keeps up just fine. So here we have the Taccia Spectrum. Like I said, I think that this is a bit of an underrated pen, a little bit under the radar, but especially with the inclusion of the Sailor nib, for the price point at $99, I feel it's something that is well worth checking out. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.